Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be playing Doki Doki Dollmaker, the demo. There is currently a Kickstarter happening. It ends on April 15th, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Convert that how you will. The boy love visual novel, 13 plus, it's teen, and it can possibly be rated higher if the devs meet stretch goals. So if you're interested in that, check that out. Links in the description, as well as a link to the demos if you want to play it yourself without getting spoiled. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe! Turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. We would love to have you here. And if you like the art and just the whole thing going on here, leave a like. I'd really appreciate it. And it lets me know if you like my stuff, or if you like the games I'm picking. What I know about this game: you play as Lyle, I think his name is, and he is moving to a new place after a tragic event in his life, and he's being bullied and he's just facing a lot of problems, and hopefully with the help of a magical sewing kit, things will take a turn for the better for him. So let's go. Start. Ouch! Lyle sucked on the side of his index finger where the sewing needle had pricked him. It's your own fault, Squirt. I told you not to sew in the car. I know. Lyle muttered as he brushed off his brother's warnings and continued to work on his project in the back seat. The road was smooth until just a minute ago. That's because I got off the highway. We're almost there. Want a caramel? Caramel. Whatever. Don't at me. Lyle shook his head as to say no. He was too immersed in his sewing project to stop for a snack. Cole shrugged and ate his share. What are you working on back there anyway? A gift for your big brother? A gift for what? for driving all this way? It's not like you had a choice. Ouch! The sewing needle jabbed another finger. The jagged road was unforgiving, but he couldn't stop now. He was almost finished. Lyle stretched out across the backseat and held his sewing project above him with great pride. Grinning at the little face looking down at him, he became lost in thought. Well, what have you been working on? Huh? Oh! Well, I found this old sewing kit in Mom and Dad's closet. I know we donated most of their stuff, but I thought I'd at least keep this. I made some dolls with the materials inside. Dolls, huh? How many have you made so far? 5. Once this one's finished. I don't think I'll have enough fabric for 6 though. I'm already picking at scraps. 5's plenty. Do you think Mom ever used this kit? Like to hem pants and stuff? Lyle asked hesitantly. He knew his brother didn't like talking about their parents, but he couldn't help himself. Or like to patch up Dad's old shirts. Who knows? Who's dead, boys? I miss them. We've reached town. Try to finish up. Lyle sighed as he sat up to make the final touches on his project. After a few stitches, he tied off the ends of the thread and placed the newly completed doll with the other 4. He smiled wide at the 5 dolls sitting beside him in the back seat. Oh, that's cute. Moving might not feel so lonely now. Things have been a little easier if Cole wasn't so miserable. Maybe the dolls could put a smile on his face. Hey, wanna see them? Lyle excitedly began gathering the tiny dolls in his hands before his brother could even answer. They've got names and everything, look! Lyle leaned forward and held the 5 dolls out to his brother in the driver's seat. Knock it off, I'm trying to drive. Ugh! Cole slammed on the brakes and the car made an abrupt stop. Lyle flung forward between the driver and passenger seat with his feet high in the air. Ow. That's what I get for not wearing a seatbelt. Good thing we weren't going too fast. You idiot! Ah! Cole smacked the back of Lyle's head for his lack of common sense. I better check to make sure we didn't hit anyone. Stay put. Lyle groaned as his brother angrily left the car. He gathered the scattered dolls before straightening himself out. Oh, look at this art. Rubbing his head with one hand and holding the dolls with his other arm, Lyle looked out the car window. He watched Cole check up on the elderly man outside the vehicle. The old man was small in stature, hunched forward as he leaned on a wooden cane. He had a bushy brow that stretched across his forehead and a lone, curly strand of hair atop his bulging head. I see it. Cole was obviously flustered, worried that he might have hurt the stranger, but the old man didn't seem troubled at all. In fact, he had a warm smile on his face and seemed to enjoy the conversation. After a few moments, Cole returned to the car with a heavy sigh. He seems to be alright. Put your damn belt on. Lyle glanced... Sorry. Lyle glanced out of the car window as he buckled up. He thought he should apologize to the old man himself, after all. It was his fault they almost hit him. Lyle bowed his head apologetically to the old man. He smiled pleasantly and waved goodbye as they drove off. Lyle waved back slightly, a little puzzled. What a strange old man. You're lucky we didn't hurt him. He invited us to see his toy shop sometime. But you'll probably be grounded for a few weeks after that stunt, so don't get your hopes up. Lyle scratched his cheek sheepishly, wondering if Cole was serious about grounding him. Here we are. They finally reached the new home. Lyle gazed at the house with great uncertainty as they pulled up. It was a simple-looking residence, no complicated or bulky additions, no sloppy renovations or patch-ups. Even the shrubs out front were well kept. It seemed cozy enough, but Lyle was uneasy. He knew that things would be different here. Lonely. Come on, get your things. Cole left the car and began to pull some items from the trunk. Lyle looked down at his dolls in his arms and realized that he needed to free up his hands in order to help his brother. He stuffed 2 dolls into the front pockets of his pants and fit the remaining 3 into the front pocket of his lightweight sweater. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It took me a few tries to read that. He lazily exited the vehicle and looked around to the back of the car. What was Cole's rush anyway? It's not like this would take long. They had already hired a moving company to transfer most of their belongings ahead of time. Cole had been back and forth for weeks unpacking and making various arrangements. He assured Lyle that it would be just like home, but Lyle knew that was impossible. Cole grunted as he lifted a large, heavy box full of his books, no doubt. He called out to Lyle as he made his way into the house. Get moving! I'm sure you'll want to arrange the stuff I unpacked for you. Lyle nodded and picked up one of the boxes filled with his belongings. He knew it was his because it was labeled as such. Lyle remained organized while packing so nothing would get lost. The thought of accidentally leaving a game or manga The thought of accidentally leaving a game or manga behind, especially one that was part of a series, was too unbearable. Packing aside, though, he rather enjoyed sorting things. It kept his mind from wandering. The box wasn't terribly heavy, but maneuvering proved to be more than difficult. I love his face. God, that worried face. Lyle made his way into the house, barely squeezing through the front door as the box swayed back and forth in his arms. Its contents tumbled around inside with his awkward movements. It wasn't long before the box finally tipped forward and Lyle lost his grip on it. Whoopsie! The box was only stable and upright. Lyle blinked in confusion. That didn't sound like Cole's voice at all. Was someone else living here? Who are you? Lyle peered over the side of the box and spotted the bright, smiling face of a young girl. You almost fell. Good thing I caught the box. She grinned proudly at Lyle. Thanks? I'm sorry, but do you live here? No, but wouldn't that be funny if I did? Could you imagine? So you walked into a stranger's house. You're not a stranger, you're my neighbor! Here, let me take this up for you. The girl snatched the box from Lyle's hands and proceeded to run up the staircase with it. Okay. Hey! Wait! He chased after her, fumbling up the staircase with his hand extended in front of him as if to catch her. He didn't stand a chance, though. The girl was exceptionally fast. Once upstairs, she turned the corner and darted forward and darted towards the first room. Lyle prioritized his belongings over exploring the additional rooms and continued to pursue the thief into the nearest one. The only place she could run now was out the window. Lyle leaned against the doorframe, catching his breath. The girl placed a large box down on the ground, then casually fell back onto the bed's mattress. "Did you think I was going to run off with your things or something?" she asked, barely containing her laughter. This girl was bold and brash, the opposite of Lyle in every way. You've got a lot of nerve. Did you say you're my neighbor?" "Yep, but my name's Tilly. I live next door. My mom sent me over to help you guys with your boxes." She's always making me do stuff. She says I have too much energy, but if it's even possible is it even possible for someone to have too much energy? I mean, come on! A bead of sweat formed on Lyle's temple as he let out a weak laugh. "I'm Lyle. Thanks for helping out, I guess." He finally took a look. Oh god, he finally took a moment to examine the room. Coincidentally, the girl brought his belongings into the correct one. All of Lyle's furniture and possessions were here. He could tell Cole tried to make it look as welcoming as possible by hanging a poster on the wall and even setting a potted plant down by the down by the window. Lyle plopped himself down on the floor and began to dig through his box of things. A part of him was annoyed at Cole for thinking a weed would somehow make this place feel like home. "So, who's the grumpy guy downstairs?" "Oh, that's Cole. He's my older brother." "He looks like a wet blanket." Are your parents that uptight?" Oh. Oh. Lyle froze. There was a long pause. "They passed away recently. That's why we had to move here." I'm so sorry." "It's alright. You didn't know." Lyle sniffed and began rummaging through the box again quietly. Tilly looked around the room, desperate to find a new topic for conversation. "Hey, what's that?" Tilly jumped up from the bed and ran towards the door. Lyle spun around to watch her, wondering what she had found. She bent over and picked something up off the ground. Lyle's eyes opened wide as he saw one of his dolls, the yellow-haired doll sweater pocket, in Tilly's hands. "How? It must have fallen out of my pocket after I ran up the stairs." He looked around the room in panic, trying to think of some excuse for the doll being there. He couldn't tell her it was his. She would laugh in his face. No. Boys don't typically... I just rolled my eyes. Boys don't typically play with dolls. He'd be called childish, or worse, be labeled a pervert. Oh, what? Tilly examined the doll, turning it this way and that. Ugly. Tilly tossed the doll behind her shoulder as she scoffed. "Excuse me." Without thinking, Lyle scrambled across the floor towards it, catching the doll just before it hit the ground. He sighed heavily, happy the doll was safe in his hands. Tilly blinked in surprise at his actions. Realizing what he had just done, Lyle became tense with embarrassment. His face flushed a deep red. How am I supposed to explain the doll now? She just watched me die for it! "Lyle, you idiot!" He closed his eyes tightly and waited for Tilly to laugh at him. "Now these are cute." Lyle's eyes shot open and he turned around on the floor to look at Tilly, who was holding two more dolls in each of her hands. Did they all fall out of my pockets? I have the worst luck ever." Lyle looked up swiftly and waved his hands around frantically in front of him. "It's not what it looks like. Did you make these?" Tilly asked as she continued to examine the dolls, completely oblivious to Lyle's frantic state. Lyle exhaled in defeat. What could he do? It's not like he had a little sister he could blame them on. It wouldn't be the first time he was made fun of. He accepted whatever insult awaited him. Yeah, I did." "Cool!" Lyle blinked in surprise. Really? "Yeah, they're well made. I like the little details you put into their clothes, and their button eyes are so cute. Do you have any more?" Tilly looked at Lyle with a bright smile. Her sincerity shocked him. She was genuinely interested in knowing more about the dolls. Lyle could see it in her eyes. He hesitated for a moment before pulling the remaining 2 dolls from his pockets. Tilly squealed with joy and grabbed the dolls from Lyle's hands. So cute! Thanks, he said humbly, rubbing the back of his head with his hand. A voice suddenly beckoned from outside. The room's windows were open, so it was heard loud and clear. Oops, that's my mom, I better get going. Tilly pushed the 4 dolls she was holding back into Lyle's arms and scrambled out of the room, but it wasn't long before she poked her head back in to say her goodbyes. School starts tomorrow, you know. You guys sure got here late. There's only one school in the area, so that means we'll be attending the same one. I guess so. I'll visit tomorrow morning and we'll walk together. I've decided. But don't forget your uniform! Tilly barely finished her sentence before darting down the stairs and out of the house. Lyle chuckled. She sure is an energetic girl. His smile faded as he looked around the room once more. I guess this is my bedroom now, huh? It was troubling for him to see familiar items in an unfamiliar place. He wondered how long it would take him to get accumulated. I should get the rest of my boxes at least. Lyle placed the dolls on the nearby desk to free up his hands. Look at them! They're so cute! He sat them next to each other in the order they were made, propping their little plush forms against the wall. Once all 5 were lined up, he sighed softly. Doran, Decipher, Ruck, Ellery, Cavell. Please help me through all this. Now look at them. Oh. It was evening by the time the 2 brothers stopped to eat. Lyle sat hungry at the kitchen table while Cole prepared their simple dinner. It was quiet. Is this how things will be from now on? Lyle's heart sank at the thought. He missed his parents. He remembered the meals they shared together each day. Oh no. I'm gonna cry. His father would be cooking up a storm in the kitchen. He always prepared more food than they could eat. His mother would hum a soft tune while she sat at the table. She would always pat Lyle gently on the head as she passed by. Oh. A sound interrupted Lyle's memories. Lyle's face flushed with embarrassment. He hadn't eaten all day. It's almost ready. Cole finished preparing the dinner and served Lyle a bowl of soup with some bread on the side. Thanks. Cole nodded and sat down across from Lyle. He adjusted his glasses and began reading a newspaper on the table, sipping his soup occasionally. He broke the silence after a short while. Your school uniform is hanging up in the closet. You'll have to make it there on your own tomorrow, since I'm starting work early. Think you'll be alright? Lyle nodded. After he finished eating, he washed the dishes and went upstairs. Oh. Lyle closed his bedroom door and leaned against it, his heart heavy. Lyle crawled into bed and wrapped his large blanket around him. It smelled like home. With a single breath, countless thoughts rushed into his mind. He closed his eyes tightly as he imagined his mother's warm embrace. He could almost hear her soft voice comforting him, telling him everything would be alright, and that change wasn't such a scary thing after all. For a moment, Lyle was far away from this new place and all the uncertainty that came with it. Far away from his fears and anxiety, far away from everything. Yet he couldn't escape. The reality was all around him. This place wasn't home, and Lyle was convinced that it will never be. His eyes began to well with tears. Everything had happened so fast. He felt so alone. He knew his brother was suffering too, but unlike Cole, Lyle couldn't pretend that he was alright. His body wouldn't let him. Lyle hugged his knees close to his chest and quietly cried himself to sleep. Oh no! Oh no. I'm gonna cry. Lyle sat up in bed with a jolt. He grinned at the sound of his alarm clock buzzing and turned it off with an irritated slap. What a terrible way to wake up every morning. School is bad enough. Classes start today. His weak stomach twisted at the thought. Lyle wasn't a particularly social person, but with presentations and group projects, school sometimes forced him to be. He wasn't sure if he'd be able to make any friends, but it was fine if he didn't. Lyle just wanted to get his classes over with so he could come back and do the things he enjoyed. If there isn't a going home club, I'll start one, he thought to himself, half joking. Lyle looked around the room and ignored the boxes he failed to unpack on the floor, spotted the 5 little dolls he made sitting on the nearby desk. Wow. He smiled softly as he got out of bed to approach them. Lifting it up in his arms, he looked down at the dolls. A strange thought overcoming him. Kiss the dolls, no one's looking. Put them down, how silly. Kiss the dolls, no one's looking. Lyle peered around his bedroom with a suspicious eye. All was clear. He quickly kissed each one of their little... so cute. He quickly kissed each one of their little heads. Wait, what was he thinking? His cheeks flushed at the silly action, and he let out a chuckle as he placed the dolls back down on the desk. Lyle began to get ready for school. After taking a quick shower, he changed into his new uniform. He glanced over at the dolls again while straightening his tie. Why was he so drawn to them? Maybe it was because he hadn't spent much time with them. He felt a little guilty for making the dolls only to drop them down on the desk. It couldn't hurt to bring one of them to school with me. Oh, he spoke aloud to no one in particular. He bit his lower lip, trying to decide if it was a good idea or not. It's just one. I'll keep the doll in my bag. So no one will see it. Oh no, you're gonna make me choose? He nodded in approval in the decision and looked over the dolls. One should I take with me? Oh no. I want the grumpy one. Torin? The yellow-haired doll. The grumpy. Let's take the grumpy one. Lyle quickly stuffed Torin into his backpack before heading downstairs to make breakfast. Hopefully I'm saying the name right. Lyle put 2 slices of bread into the toaster and waited patiently for them to pop up with his school bag hanging on one shoulder. That's weird. Lyle pressed the main door and opened it slowly, peering through the small crack to see who his unexpected guest was before fully opening the door. Good morning! The door was suddenly pushed open. It sent Lyle flying backwards and thumping onto the floor behind him. Yoo-hoo! You really do have too much energy. My mom always says that. How funny! What are you doing on the floor? Lyle groaned as he stood, rubbing his elbow where he had landed on it. It's Tilly, right? You're a little early, aren't you? Lyle yawned as he waddled back to the toaster and waited for his breakfast. Tilly followed behind. Early? Nah, I'm usually late. Let's see. About 10 minutes late this morning. Not including travel time, of course. Huh? No time for snacks, bucko. Let's go. It's his breakfast. Tilly ran towards Lyle, grabbing his arm and sprinting out the door with him trailing behind. But, my toast! Okay. We're gonna stop here for today, everyone. Thank you for joining me. If you're interested in playing the game yourself, backing the Kickstarter, links in the description. If you've liked what you've seen, subscribe. And thank you to this month's patrons. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in becoming a patron, getting early access to videos and exclusive access to other things as thanks, check out my Patreon, link in the description. Hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!